conference will begin when the next party joins. You will now be placed into the conference.
Good morning, Regina Forbes from Pearson just joined. Who do I have on the phone?
Rosalind Brown.
Hello, Rosalind. It's Regina Forbes from Pearson. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. And where are you calling in from?
Columbia.
Oh, great. Excellent. I have Terry Bernard has also joined, but I don't think has joined yet by phone. Terry, are you on?
I'm here on the computer.
Great. Excellent. So you can hear me as well.
Yeah, sure can. Thank you.
Super. And Terry, where are you from?
I'm with ECPI Emerywood.
Emerywood. And where is that?
Richmond.
Richmond. Okay.
Yeah, we're the one of the two campuses in the Metro Richmond area.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining. We are going to wait a little bit for Krista to join us.
Okay.
And she joins, I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
Hey, before we get started, this is, I feel, a good time to ask. I'd like for the rest of my team to get to see this. Will you be recording this presentation so I can forward it to them?
You know what, Terry? I don't like to record presentations like this because, and I'll tell you why, because I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable asking questions and having interaction. But that being said, I would be more than happy to do a presentation that I do record and then just send you the link for that to share out. Is that okay if I do it that way?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I kind of want to keep this rather than, a show and tell. I want to kind of keep it, if we can, a little bit chattier. So. But thank you for sharing it out with your faculty. And as a matter of fact, I always say at the end, but I'll say it right now, if there's somebody that couldn't join us today, or if there's somebody that you really want to see more, I am more than happy to set up one-on-ones with them. I think sometimes that's the best way to approach this, especially if people have questions and want to have conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. We're waiting for Krista. We'll give her a few more minutes. Hello, Christy. It's Regina Forbes, and I have Terry Bernard and Rosalind Brown on the call.
Oh, good. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it
Hello.
going?
Krista, are you in the webinar or just on the voice line?
I'm on, it says meeting in progress. Introduce yourself. Only click join. That would help.
Good enough.
I had a student run in here at the last second. I was like, oh, okay, it's not, it's not letting me enter my name. Okay, well, there it goes.
And now I'm allowing you to join, so you should be able to see my screen in about 10 seconds.
Yes, it's click allow to enable camera. I got it.
You got it. Great. Excellent. With the three of us on the call, Chris, do you think we should get started, or are there others that we're waiting to join?
These are only two that let me know they were coming, so.
Beautiful. Okay. And as I just said to Terry, I am more than happy for people who couldn't join us at this late notice during the holiday season. I'm more than happy to do another one of these at a time individually for any of the other members of your team who might want to see this. I also, I think that joined us mentioned to Terry, he asked if I would record this. And I said I typically don't like to record these because I want to make it more, discussion with you guys. But I told him that I'd be happy to do one of these and record it, and then he can really forward it out to any members of his faculty that he wants. So I will make sure I get the phone from them. So I guess we can get started. I'll first introduce myself. I'm Regina Forbes, and I am a product specialist at Pearson. I work with your account manager, who is Megan Power, and then also your sales representative, who is Maura Donlin. Unfortunately, at this kind of late notice when we set this up, neither of them were able to join us on this call, but any questions that you have that I might not be able to answer, I will certainly forward it on to one of those two and have them get back to you. I'm calling you from sunny Florida, where it is all of 80 degrees today. I feel like it's summertime, and I know that.
Jealous.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Don't rub that in.
I'm actually jealous of you because I want a white Christmas, and I understand you guys may get a little bit of snow. So, anyways, so I'm calling you from Florida, and I do travel a lot with the reps that I work with. So we may be able to meet in person at some point in the future. But anyways, thanks so much for giving me an hour today and giving me the time to show you Nina Beaman's Pearson medical assisting product line. What you can see on my screen is the MyLab homepage. But what I would like to do is, before I get into this, just kind of give you a little bit of information on the textbook, and then obviously I believe that Mara has sampled you all books. If you haven't received them yet, let me know, and I'll make sure we get them out to you. But this is the 4th edition of Nina Beaman's book. The book, when it was first published, was published because Nina felt that all of the books on the market did a really good job teaching the technical aspects of learning to become a medical assistant, but they didn't really focus on the one area that seemed to be the most difficult for students to be able to get, and the one area that employers seemed most likely and most often interested in having students perform better, and that was professionalism. And so when she built this book from the ground floor up in the first edition, she focused on this idea that students need to learn how to be professional from day one, not just one chapter on professionalism, but the idea that learning to be professional can be integrated into skills and into administrative and into clinical elements of the book. And so that's where this book started beginning. So now we're in the fourth edition. This was a pretty large revision. We updated all of the PDAs so that they are all updated the book to conform to APPES and KHEP standards. So it meets all of the necessary standards for those two accrediting bodies. We also updated Michael's Professions Lab. And as you'll see when I show you some of the activities in the lab, this idea that students can actually be taught soft skills and be taught these professionalism skills is possible. And we'll show you some of the resources that we've developed. So that's just a little bit about the book. So now let me take you into the MyLab. This is the homepage for the MyLab. Now, I am assuming ECTI operates with a learning management system. Am I assuming correct? Is it Blackboard or
Canvas?
Canvas. Okay, great. Excellent. So just know as I'm showing you all of the resources that this MyLab integrates beautifully with Canvas. We can do it. We can do it at the activity level. So usually when I demonstrate a MyLab for customers that are going to be looking at it in an LMS, I really don't spend a lot of time on the functionality of of our MyLab. I kind of dig into more of the assignments. So I think I'll probably approach this demo that way. If you have any questions on the functionality of the platform, which is Pearson's MyLab platform, let me know and we can go over it. But we'll kind of just delve into the assignments from the beginning. So one of the things that we really focus on as we present all these digital assets to the students is to arrange the assets in ways that benefit both student learning and instructor use of the resources in the classroom. So as you can see here on the left navigation bar, we have chapter assignments. Students can click and go directly into their chapter assignments. We have a multimedia library, and this is where all of the media that you'll find embedded into the assignments at the learning objective level are also called out in this library. And this way, if instructors want to show, say, a video on taking a pulse, they can go in here and they can look it up as opposed to having to go into the chapter level assignments to be able to show it in class. The other thing that we do here at Pearson is all of our MyLabs come with an e-text automatically. Now, I'm assuming that your students are still using print text. Is that correct? Still using print?
Well,
we're using ebooks.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got ebooks for the students. Instructors have desk copies, and of course.
Okay, great. So you are all digital.
Correct.
So just know that in our MyLab we do include an e-text. This works really well in situations where students receive a print copy, but we know that some students are very digital and they don't want to be carrying around a 1,000-page book. So having the e-text available to them anytime, any place is really valuable. The other thing I always point out on the MyLabs is we have our instructor tools right here. So once you have a MyLab account as an instructor, you can go in here and you can access your instructor resources, which in this case is a very robust instructor manual with individual lesson plans. PowerPoints are also accessible here to download. We have image libraries. This is where you'll find your test gen and then your testing conversions to LMSs. We have a time on task document that is available, and it shows you all of the assets that I'll be showing you. It shows you how those, when they're assigned, the amount of time you can expect that students will be taking to complete those assignments. We have transition guides, and these are important because these basically take you from the current book you're using into the Beaman book. So for instance, if you're teaching a third chapter of Lynn, and now you want to teach that same content in Beaman, it'll show you that that content might be found in the fifth chapter or the second chapter. So those transition guides make it really nice and easy. And then finally, we have accreditation mapping guides. So each of these accrediting bodies, ABTEST and KHEP, all of the content is mapped to those standards, making it easy for you to move into the Beaman textbook. So those are the instructor resources, and I point those out because a lot of times when new instructors are hired at the last minute, it's hard to get the tools that they might need, whereas if they have a MyLab account, they have access to all of these tools under the instructor tool. Okay, so let me take you into some of the resources that you'll find. So I clicked on my chapter assignment tab, and you can see that everything is organized around the chapter. So I'm going to take you into chapter 34, and I'll show you some of the activities. This is the vital signs chapter, and what you're going to see in this chapter is consistent across all of the chapters. So you will always find at the chapter level a homework assignment. You'll find something that we call dynamic study modules. We'll be talking about that in a moment. You'll always see some critical thinking activities because we know that it's not enough to just learn the content. You have to be able to apply that content. And then we have a professionalism scenario, which basically takes the content from the chapter, creates a scenario, but really addresses more professionalism than the content. And then in the chapters where procedure videos are important, the skills or the clinical chapters, you'll see a procedure video quiz. Now, there is one other item that we have, and you'll see that item in the administrative chapters of the MyLab, and that is an additional scenario that deals with some of those administrative skills, and I'll show you that after we finish taking a look at these. So we start with homework, and this is actually where the students are given a series of questions that really works on the basic concepts. So in this case, multiple choice, I am selecting answer B. We always give the students the ability to check their answer, and when they check their answer and get it wrong, I'm given a little bit of a hint. So the idea is I'm learning more than just the answer for the question. I get a second chance to check it, which, as you can see down here, is my final check. Let me see if I'm going to get this right. And my final check, and I get a little check, nice work. But I also not only learn that it's correct, but I get some information about the answer, because a lot of times students can guess, and they can guess right. And then I get to move on to my next question. Now there's 47 of these, but the purpose of these are to really learn the material that is being covered in this chapter. One of the things I will point out is each of these homework questions is identified by 3 numbers. So the first number is the chapter 34. The second number is the learning objective, first learning objective, and I'll show you a place where you can see where those learning objectives are outlined. And then this is the second question related to that learning outcome. Now, as a student, I can move along through these questions. I can go through the process and answer them. And let's see if I can get this wrong twice. And I'll show you what happens here. I got it wrong twice. It does give me the correct answer, and then I can move on. Now, what's happening as I'm moving through here is I can see what my grade is. I can see I've gotten 1 of 47 points. Even though I have attempted more than one question, I've only gotten 1 correct. I can save this at any time. And when I save it, it takes me back to the scorecard, and I can see how I've performed. I can also go into any question, whether I got it right or wrong, and go back in and I can review that question. So there's a lot of learning that we want to go on at this point. Now, everything that I have done in my homework is charted and is reported into a grade book. So you would know at any one point in time what my performance is. You'll know when I worked on it, and you will also be able to see the questions that I got right and the questions that I got wrong. So that is the first activity, and that we call our homework. Now, we know that students don't read the book. We also know that they don't always come prepared for class. So what we have developed is we have developed a product called Dynamic Study Module. And this is an adaptive product that the students can use on any device, really designed for mobile devices, so they can use it on any device. They can use it at any time. They can spend 5 minutes on these dynamic study modules. They can spend 45 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. They can use it as long as they like or for as short a period as they like. We are presenting the content in a questioning strategy. And as I, the students, learn the materials, as I master the content, I am moved through an adaptive portfolio of questions. So mastery, those questions drop out, and I focus on the questions that I don't know, that I'm not answering correctly. The way we deliver this to the student is there is a group of questions, anywhere between 20 and 25 questions per chapter. The questions are delivered to the student in groups of 8. And I'll show you, I have 3 ways that I can answer these questions, and I'll explain why in a second. So my first question is, how many beats per minute is the average pulse rate in a healthy adult? So I am going to narrow it down to 2. I think it's either 120 to 160 or 60 to 80, but I'm not really sure. Then I'm going to submit my answer, and we'll find out one of those is correct. The next question, I have no clue. So I'm going to click, I just don't know yet. This question, I'm pretty sure that this is the correct answer, and I click twice. I'm sure, and I submit. Now, I find out whether or not I get these right or wrong, but I don't find out the correct answer until I have completed all questions. And let me click through all of them. And now I've completed that question set. Oops, hold on a second, I got my first question right. Let's see. Now I've completed my question set, and now it says, let's go learn. Click on the button, and now this is where I'm going to be taken back through those 8 questions. Now, the reason we do that is we know from brain science that people will retain in long-term memory what they anticipate. So we make the students go through those 8 questions and anticipate the correct answer by telling them either they got it wrong or they got it right. And once they get to this learn section, they're going to see the correct answers for all 8. But they're also given a rationale. So I got this incorrect. This is the correct answer. And here is some information from the text as it relates to that concept. So what we're doing is we're delivering small snippets of content built around the information that the students need to master for the chapter. So I go through this. Now, our dynamic study modules, we find them in all of our Allied Health MyLabs. And some of the MyLabs, like my medical terminology lab, what you need to know may be a video, it may be an animation, it may be an image. So it's not just definition. But in the case of this particular chapter, most of it is definitional. Now, once I've completed those 8 questions, answered the questions, gone through the learning process, then I'm brought back with another set of 8 questions. Depending upon how I performed on my first one and how I'm performing within the dynamic study module will determine what questions I receive. So no 2 students are going to get the same questions. The idea, obviously, is to be able to go through that question set, all 20 questions, and master all of them. And I can watch my performance here by using the drop-down menu. I can see that I've spent 2 minutes. I can see what my accuracy is, and this relates to how many I get correct versus how many I said I don't know. I can see that I've mastered 1. I got 2 incorrect and 5 are in progress. I haven't seen 12 of them, and there are 20 total questions. Now, what you're seeing here is a student view. As an instructor, there is a data-driven report that's provided. You can drill down to the student level. You can drill down to the question level. You can monitor progress. You can monitor time on task. It's a really powerful tool to be able to see what the students are doing to prepare for class. Now, the dynamic study module can be assigned in a bunch of different ways. The way we have it assigned is it just comes automatically available for the students to use and to view. You can assign it by saying, I want you to spend 20 minutes a night on it. I've seen classes where they have started the class out with 10 minutes using the dynamic study modules. I've seen it used mid-class when you're kind of losing your students and, pull out your phones or your iPads and, let's take a look and spend 15 minutes doing dynamic study modules. So you can decide how you want to use this, or in some cases, you can just show the students, this is another tool for learning. It's available for you. I won't be monitoring it, but just like the textbook, it's up to you to utilize it. So do you guys have any questions on the dynamic study modules or the homework assignment? Because those 2 are really focusing on the sort of lower levels of learning, the content.
No, I don't have any questions.
No, I'm good.
No, I'm solid. Thank you.
Right. Super, super, super. Okay, so now we're going to go into more of the applied. So now we're really working with these higher level thinking skills that are not only critical for the student to be successful in the job, but also if they are going to be taking any of the certification exams, these are the kind of questions that they need to prepare for from day 1 and that they really need to focus on in order to pass those exams. We call these critical thinking. The reason we call it a quiz and not homework is sort of Pearson nomenclature, because you'll see down here, remember the homework had that little help button, and the students were allowed to answer the question twice? Well, in this case, we don't have that. So it's a little bit more high stakes. Still homework, but they only have one chance of getting it right. So let me just take you through this question and just to kind of give you a sense of how it's organized. So what we're doing, remember, we're in chapter 34, which is the chapter on vital signs. So the question relates to vital signs. So as far as an obese and anemic patient, he's a smoker, has a very stressful job. He's having a physical exam for obtaining a life insurance policy. When he speaks with the physician, he's told his blood pressure is high. Giving the details in this scenario, which of the following is not a risk factor? So what we're doing is we are taking the learning objective within the chapter, we're putting it into a mini scenario, and we're asking the students to read and abstract the important information. So in this case, I answer the question and I move on to the next question. As you can see up here, there are 10 of these, and the students, when they complete them, they will submit, and I'm going to go ahead and submit my quiz even though I haven't completed it. It says, are you sure you want to submit this? But I'm going to. And as you can see, I didn't do very well here. I didn't get any right, 0 out of 10 points. Again, we provide the date and time submitted. We give the time on task. I only spent 2 minutes on this. And if I had answered these questions correctly, I would have gotten a little check. Once I submit it, my grade is a fact. But I can review my test, which takes me back through the questions and gives me the correct answers. So it is a good tool for students to continue to work on and learn the content. And as I said, we have 10 of these, and you'll find the critical thinking quizzes in every single chapter. The next thing we have is what we call professionalism scenario. And what we're doing here is we're giving the students a scenario that they're being asked to read, they're being asked to respond to using the text box. So there is reading skills involved, there's also communication skills, they're having to write, and each of these has 2 parts. So in this case, and I'll read this through with you so you can kind of get a sense of what we're really trying to test. And again, keep in mind, it's professionalism, but it's professionalism as it relates to the content of vital signs. So Dr. Johnson has finished examining Monica Peters, and Monica is a new patient. He finds Denise, who is the MA, and Denise took Ms. Peters' vital signs, but the doctor has some questions about that. And he says, Denise, you didn't indicate what body side you measured Ms. Peters' body temperature. So I assume it was oral, but did you know that Ms. Peters recently had oral surgery? So as you can see here, we're relating the information that the students should have learned in the chapter to a scenario. And then the doctor goes on, taking the temperature of a patient who's recently had oral surgery is something I would advise you not to do. So Denise, the medical assistant, she's in the process of rearranging some files, and she doesn't look up at the doctor and says, oh yeah, I know not to take a patient's temperature orally after oral surgery, which is exactly why I didn't do that. I took her temperature with the oral method. I'm aware of how to take a patient's temperature, doctor. Now, I have watched students respond to that paragraph. And I got to tell you, I read it, with a sort of an attitude. But when a student reads through that, I've seen students say, well, the medical assistant was fine. She did it right. Maybe she missed in the electronic health records recording what she had done properly, but she did do it right. Well, that's not the answer that we want the students to come to. We want the students to be able to come to a different conclusion. And if you read the next paragraph, you can see where we want to direct them. So Dr. Johnson was unhappy with the response. If you're aware how to do that, then you should have been aware how to properly document. So, okay, she didn't properly document, so that's the first thing she didn't do right. But please don't simply refer to the patient as her. Use her name. I also want you to look directly at me or anyone else in the office when you are being spoken to. So what we're focusing on here is we're focusing on those social skills, those professionalism skills, the things that will make or break a student's career and success in this field. Now, you can assign this, and the students can respond in the text box. But I think, personally, the most effective way of using these is in a classroom environment or online, where students actually have to, interact with the information, interact with each other. I've seen it where students have been put in two different groups. Somebody's been selected from the group to be the one that actually presents the class the answer and the why. And, it's just amazing the different kind of responses that you get when you present this out to students who maybe don't have those kind of skills that, you would want them to have as they move out into the workplace. So, anyways, do you have any questions on these professionalism scenarios?
No, I definitely like those, having them throughout the book rather than just being like one chapter or something like that. I think that definitely addresses, like you said, a concern that's quite prevalent in the medical assistants that go out into the field.
Yeah, it is. I sit on advisory boards, and I can tell you the first thing, and you guys know this, the first thing that employers say when they talk about students that are coming into their offices for externships or for jobs is, these students really know how to do the technical elements. They're really good. You've done a great job there. But gosh, I just wish they were more professional. I just wish they knew how to behave better. Those subtleties of behavior that we just take for granted because, thank God our parents taught us those things. But it's important that the students get it from the very beginning, and that's really what we've infused. And the other thing that I really like about this is students are able by reading these to see that it's not enough to have those technical abilities, because in this case, the medical assistant did have technical abilities. She knew the information, but she just didn't deliver it properly. So anyways, those are called professional scenario quizzes, and we have those in every chapter. And then, obviously, obviously, we want the students to have a good set of procedure videos, and they do with this MyLab. As I said, the videos were produced at the beginning of this year, first quarter. So they are current, they're brand new. Not only are they relating to the students the current techniques, but the people who are doing them look like the students, they're dressed like the students. They're not hokey. I mean, I've seen some older procedure videos that are actually good videos, but boy, if I was a student, I would just be turned off because the people didn't look like them. So we have, depending upon the chapter, upwards of 7 or 8 procedure videos per chapter. What we do is we link out the video within the MyLab. The students then spend, in this case, it's a minute 36 to view the video. But as they're viewing the video, we want them to know that they can't get lost in it. We want them to realize that they are, that they are going to be held accountable for viewing it by answering a quick question. Now, as you can see here, there are 19 questions, but out of those 19 questions, there are only 7 videos. So some of the questions relate to the same video. And here are the questions. And I'll show you in a second a list of the videos that we have available. So this is called the procedure video quizzes, and you'll find these in all of the clinical chapters, or the majority of the clinical chapters. So those are the basic kinds of assignments we have. There's one other kind of assignment that I mentioned earlier that you'll find in the administrative chapters. And these are called decision-making cases. So I'm now in chapter 5, and the chapter is communication, verbal and nonverbal. And as you can see, homework, dynamic study modules, critical thinking, professionalism, something new, decision-making cases. So we have 9 of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the students through a scenario. And we're going to ask them to respond. And you'll see here that we are working on the content of the chapter, but we're also working on professionalism. So in this case, the objectives of this decision-making case is identify techniques to overcome communication barriers with patients and identify characteristics of verbal and nonverbal communication. One of the things I want to point out is these are really, really good when you're dealing with the affective skills that you're required to teach students, and your accrediting body wants to see how you're teaching them. These scenarios really help check that box. So I'm going to begin the case, and the case always starts with a video. I'm not going to show the video because there is also a description. So we have a patient. This patient's been waiting for 30 minutes to be called into the exam room. I mean, we know this well. He starts getting really agitated. People who come in after him get taken into the exam room. And he's starting to create a little bit of a scene in the waiting room. So the MA who's sitting behind the desk really has to deal with this situation. And they're given 4 options. So you tell them to sit down and be patient. It's a busy morning. 2 people called in sick. Someone will get to him as soon as possible. I mean, that's the excuse. Should you apologize to the patient for his wait? Should you let the man know that the other patients have been called back ahead of him because they have a different doctor and your doctor was on an emergency call? Should you suggest perhaps that he could reschedule for another day? These are the easy ones. Should you ignore his behavior? His doctor's been tied up longer than expected with another patient. We'll eventually get to him. Besides, everybody knows that doctors run late. Or if you call the patient back, I've had this happen to me so many times, for the next appointment, even that it means that he'll have to wait a little longer in the exam room. Removing him from the waiting room so he's apart from other patients will help the patients have a more pleasant experience. Now, as you can see, these alternatives are different, but one could argue that several of them is decent, and I guarantee you when your students do this, they will have reasons for choosing one over the other. So I'm going to click the correct answer, and then I'm going to submit my decision, and I'm going to find out that I was correct. I've apologized, I've explained the reason, and that is the best answer. And then I'm going to continue on. So as I continue, we learn that the patient gets called back. The MA doing a great job is trying to put him at ease, trying to, make his experience a little better than what he had in the waiting room. And she kind of has a nice conversation. Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you today? She notices the patient is just responding, just very, I'm fine. It's kind of, like there's something going on. She reads his body language. He walks slowly down the hall. His head is low. So she's getting vibrations that there's something going on. And she says, he drops his wallet, can I help you with that? And the patient says no. And as he sits down in the chair, his shoulders slump. If you were the MA, what would you do at this point? So, you can assume the patient's having a bad day. After all, he waited pretty long in the waiting room. You can move on because you really don't have time for this. You have other patients. You can say to the patient, Mr. Jones, you seem a bit sad this morning. Is there something I can help you with? If you have concerns, would you like to discuss with me or the doctor? Or you can tell the patient you understand he's had a long wait, but that doesn't give him the right to get angry. So this is the correct answer, but I'm going to answer it incorrectly to just kind of give you an idea what happens when I do answer it incorrectly. I'm going to submit my decision, and I find out what the correct answer was. I find out what my answer was and that it's incorrect. Get a little bit of more understanding why it's incorrect. And then I get a little bit more information on why this would have been the best choice. And then I move on through the scenario. At the very end of the scenario, we regroup back with the patient. We find out that Mr. Jones is calm, that the MA did a good job putting him at ease, and so we're able to end the case on a positive note. So, finally, we have a report that is available after I completed the scenario. It tells me how long I spent with it, gives me my answers, reviews the answers, correct answer, incorrect answer, and it can be printed out and handed in or printed out and saved. So these are called the decision-making cases, and we have 9 of them, and they're available in the administrative chapters of the book. Do you have any questions on the decision-making case?
No question. I think it's a good idea.
Ah, good. Thank you. Thank you. We like those. Whenever I show those, I always get positive answers on it. So we talked about all of the chapter assignments. We talked about a little bit at the beginning about the multimedia library, but let me just walk you through it so that you can see how easily it is to access some of these resources. So I can either select the library by chapter, I can select the library by learning outcomes, or I can select the library by media type. But I'm just going to pull up all of the media in the library just so that you can get a sense. Organized by chapter, let me pull you down to the chapters that have our videos in it. So chapter 34, vital signs, here are the videos. These are all hot links. So you can open these simply by clicking them. So if you're in the classroom and you want to show a video, you can do it. If your students are having to perform any of these skills and you want them to review the video for the skill before they come in for the performance, you can send them to the multimedia library, tell them to review the video. The other nice thing we have in this multimedia library are the skills PDFs. And these are, whoops, go back and do it again. These are available to the students and to the instructor. So they're in PDFs, but these are writable PDFs. So I can write my name, I can write the date, I can go in and review as a student before I come into the classroom to perform. I can see how I'm going to be graded. So there's a really nice rubric here that takes the skill, in this case it's measuring blood pressure, and breaks it down into mini skills. As the instructor, I can add the grade on this. And for some reason, mine's not writing. And then at the very end, I can say how many points were earned out of the possible 183 points, what my percentage grade was, and whether I passed or failed and signed off. Now, these are really nice because they allow you to maintain a digital record of the student's skills performance. They also, if you wanted to do it paper and pencil, students can print these out, come into class with them, and you can write on them. So, and they're really good for students to use to review the skill before they actually come in and perform it. Any questions on these procedure resources?
Again, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Not about this, but I was thinking about when you guys do the quizzes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys, are they already pre-made for us, or do we have access to add stuff to them or take away stuff?
A great question. We have created pre-made ones, but if you want to make your own from question banks that we have, you can do it. I have some accounts that said to me, 49 questions are great. I want my students to have access to all of those questions, but you know what? Too much to assign at once. I want to break it down. I want them to do, 7 a day. So you can do that. We have a question bank, and I'll show that to you. Actually, I'll show it to you right now. So if I go into Instructor Tools, and then I go into what we call Assignment Manager, this is where all of the content is housed and can be either assigned or not assigned. There are 257 pre-assigned activities in this. You may not want to use all of them, but it's up to you. So I know you laugh. So what you can do is using this, you can change the date and assign status, or you can create assignments. Let me show you how easy it is. So I click the Create Assignment button. I want to create a homework assignment. It asked me to name my assignment, so I'm going to call it homework 1, and then I go on. This takes me to the library. Within the library, I can go to a chapter. Since we're talking about chapter 34, Vital Signs, I'll just click on that. I can create an assignment around learning outcomes. So if all I want to do is do learning outcome 4, I can click on that. Or I can do it around all learning outcomes. And then over here is really where your library questions are housed. Each of these is a question. So if you see PROCVID, procedure video, homework, and on and on and on and on. So I can review it, the question, by hovering over it, but I don't know about you, I can't read that. So if I click on it, it shows me the question, shows me the answer, gives the number of points. I'm going to leave it at 1 point. I'm going to add this. Then I can move on to the next question. I like this one, I'm adding this one. And the next question, adding it, and I think I want to do 5 questions. And then I'm going to add that one. And they all have 1 point. So as I added them, they will show up here. I can look at it, I can say, you know what, this one is a little bit harder, I'm going to make this 4 points. And so what I've just created is an 8-point homework question. I think it looks good. I'm going to click next. This takes me to the screen. When do I want to make it available? Say I'm working on chapter 34 beginning today. And I want it to be completed by the end of the week. I'm going to give them till Friday. And I just go down here. There's a lot of things you can do with this, but I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to save, and I'm going to sign it. So now that I've created this new homework, I can go back into my chapter assignment. I can see the homework was available today. Let me go scroll down. Just what I thought. Right here, there's my homework that I just created. And I can see that it's due on Friday. But more importantly, when I go into chapter 34, you'll see that in addition to these pre-created ones, here's my little homework assignment that I just created. Students can check on it and then go through the questions in the same way as, so go through those 5 questions the same way as the original. Check my answer, and then my final check, and then move on to the next question. So that's the way you can take the content apart from that library, and you can assign it in different ways. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. The other thing that I wanted to point out here is one last thing. We recognize that students in a lot of programs are really preparing for certification. And so what we've done is we've created practice exams, practice certification exams. As you can see from this list, we have 4 practice exams for CMA, 4 for RMA, 2 for CMAA, and 1 for NCMA. These are all timed exams, and I'll just briefly show you how they look. This one is 100 questions. The questions are the kind of questions that they're likely to see on the exam. It is timed, and it's a scenario that replicates what they are going to see when they sit for their exam. I'm going to submit it, even though I didn't answer it, just to show you automatic feedback. Boy, I guess I didn't get any right. I only spent 19 seconds on it, so I guess that's it. But as you can see here, I got 4 incorrect, 96. And what I can do is I can use this to go back in and I can review. So these can be assigned multiple times. They can be used as a final grade in the course. It's up to you to handle it the way you want. The way we've created it and the parameters we put in place is that students get to do it multiple times and they get to see the answers after they've completed it the first time. But you can modify it to adapt to however you're using it in your classroom. That is about it. Do you have any questions? Is there anything else that that you'd like to see? Anything else I can take you through? And oh, by the way, I will create a demo course for you, and so that you can go back in and you can go in a little bit more depth into the chapters that you're most interested in.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd like to play with it a little bit more just to see,
Absolutely.
to get a better feel of it. I mean, it's got some interesting things in it.
Sure. So what I'll do is I will set up an account for you, and what you're looking at here is my dashboard. Your account will look similar to this. Each of these little blue squares is a course. So this is the course that I was just in. You will have one of these. I'll also add in a couple of the other My Labs, my medical terminology lab. We have a My Lab for electronic health records. We have a My Lab for insurance. So I'll put those in here as well so that you can kind of browse those. Functionally, they're exactly the same the way you work through it. But anyways, this is what your dashboard will look like. So, and I'll give you instructions on how to get in. And if you have any questions, functional questions, or any questions on content, any editorial questions, please feel free to ask me. And if I can't answer it, Nina Beaman, our author, is amazing. She actually lives in your neck of the woods. She's out of Richmond. Actually, I think she lives in a more rural community just outside of Richmond. So if you have any questions,
Hey,
I'm sure she'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Regina, can I grab you for 1 minute here? You mentioned there at the end about programs that were very, very focused on certifications, and medical assisting. Since we're not licensed, I mean, certifications are our life's blood. And you had the practice exams with retired test questions or similar test questions and so on and so forth. But I know you reach out a lot to employers, and you got all of that stuff right on the mark with employers talking about soft skills and things such as that. When you are reaching out to employers, is any one programmatic certification, do any of them really mention what they are looking for? Are they still saying that the CMA is what they're looking for, or do they believe any of the other programmatic certifications are, more in tune with what they're looking for, in the workplace? I mean, do any of them ever give you any insight to that?
Well, it's interesting because as I said, I cover half the United States.
Sure.
And
That's why I was
certifications
asking.
appear to be regional. They appear to be regional. CMA is the one that I certainly hear the most of. But I also work in areas where certified medical assistants are not, I mean, employers are not requiring that they're MAC certified. I think that that's short term. I think certification, like you said, is the lifeblood. I will say that the certification, and I can't remember which one it is. Let me see if I can pull it up here. The certification that I have heard more about recently is, I want to say it's the CMAA that has more administrative skill focus. I'm hearing more and more about that. Now, I don't know if it's just regional or if it's a trend, but I would say that as the certifications become more focused, more broad-based from the clinical to the administrative, I think the focus more on those kind of administrative skills is something that I am seeing more in the workplace.
Okay.
And that being said, though, the reason we have 4 CMA and 4 RMA exams is that they are the standard. Now, the other thing that I will say I see, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but the easier certifications I sometimes see in programs because they're requiring that their students get certified, but if their students all sat for CMA as part of the program requirement, they would lose a lot of students. So I am seeing other certification exams kind of creep in to basically fill that void. Yes, our students are certified, but that was one of the easier exams for them to be certified under.
Mm-hmm.
Regina.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
With
That's
that,
what happened to us. So we have the CCMA is like the Band-Aid right now until students can get their CMA RMA.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And you know what I also saw in another program that I thought this was pretty smart. They were paying for the students to do the CCMA as part of their curriculum as a practice exam and also as a measure of how they might perform on the CMA or the RMA.
Regina.
So, yes. So I thought that was
also with the CMAA. They also need to look at the areas before they push that test, because that one is actually not recognized in certain states.
Right. And that's a good point. A lot of many of the states that I work in, programs are graduating students who take no exam or take no certification exam because the employers don't require it. And
Man, that's going to come back and bite those students.
Oh, I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I think it, and I will say that to the programs. Because I see the trend in the different states, and what's going to happen is somebody at the state level is going to have an experience where they're a politician. They're going to see this as just something that they can jump on. They're going to require it, and then those students who are out there working after the fact might not be able to get certified.
Right.
And that's problematic. From a variety of different reasons. So, So, it depends upon the location, depends upon the focus of the school, and what their expectation is out of their students.
Well, I like that input from you. Thank you so much, because I know you cover a wide swath of the United States. So getting that input definitely helps, me moving forward with our program, and I'm sure it helps the other PDs as well, because I don't want to, play catch up. I want to be ahead of the trend and make sure that, we do meet employers' demands. That way, if some of our competitors are not, then my people have a leg up on them.
Sure. Your students will rise to the top, which is where you want them.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say, just from a publishing perspective, our editors in every single discipline in the health professions are now building in these practice exams, because we recognize the importance of certification. It's everywhere.
Right.
It's going to be universal.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and answering that kind of off the beaten path question. I certainly appreciate that.
No problem at all. And so I'll get you your account set up today. You'll
Thank you.
probably have an email from me before the end of the day. And as I said, if there is anybody else who you want me to, just go over this personally, I'll set up a personal one-on-one webinar with them. And I'll do one of these just so that we can record it.
Okay.
And then send that out.
Okay. Hey, and please give my best to Mara as well. Gosh, she walked me through a lot of Pearson products over the years at other schools where I've worked. So, yeah, she's always been most helpful.
That is so great. Yeah, I'm really, really excited that Mara is back on ECPI. There was a period of about maybe 3 or 4 years where we had an account manager who worked with corporate, but we didn't have anybody assigned to the individual campuses. And this year, starting in January 2017, Mara got back on the account, and I'm so happy because she does have great relationships with her customers.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, I ran into her at our PD conference at the beach, and it was nice to see a friendly face again. So, yeah, thank you.
That's great. I will tell her you said hi.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, guys. You all have a great rest of the week and have a wonderful holiday season. And I'm sure I'll hear back from you early next year or anytime between now and the end of the year.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Regina.
Thank you so much. It was an awesome presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Karen Roslin, for coming.
Sure. Talk to you later, Krista.
See y'all later. I'll send you all an email.
Great. Thank you,
Okay.
Krista.
All right, bye.